Hey guys, this is Jorge from the Big Band Podcast. Today I am joined by Mohit Mamoria. He is a software developer and a big Bitcoin enthusiast and also a developer for Bitcoin and blockchain solutions. Hey Mohit, how are you?
Hey George, I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm pretty damn good. So so we are talking today to yourself because a few days ago you published let's call it a for Dummies Guide to the Blockchain, uh,
Yes.
a very in-depth article. Um, and I immediately reached out to you because, well, the blockchain is I think one of the technologies that's least understood, yet one of the ones that has the most potential to make dramatic change in all types of industries, businesses, organizations, and whatnot. Um, so just before we jump into the topic, tell me a little bit about yourself, your background. How do you end up doing work in the blockchain and Bitcoin?
Yeah, cool. Okay, so before I introduce myself, I would like to say this. I am not the ultimate expert in blockchains or bitcoins. Blockchain and bitcoins is like quantum physics. Everyone talks about it, but no one completely understands it. So if you go and talk to 10 different people, you'll get 10 different answers. So I'll just try to explain, educate whatever I know. uh, how do I got into this blockchain and Bitcoins? So I am a software developer. I am right now 25 years old, and I have been writing software since I was 11. A self-taught programmer. A few years back, I was introduced to Bitcoins about 4 years back when it really jumped in the value. The first time when it jumped, when it touched 1,000 US dollars per Bitcoin in value. Then I came across it and I started learning about it. And for last 4 years, I have been researching about it, mining Bitcoin, mining other cryptocurrencies, have been an enthusiast, have been learning about this space. And right now, the same point has come again. The same sort of boom is all over again, and this time it's bigger. And this time, the good part is the whole infrastructure on which the blockchains work is a little bit more mature than it was earlier. So this I feel this is very nascent stage, right? This year 2017 is very much like 1991 or 1990, where when the internet was just getting started. And I believe this is very nascent stage of this industry, and really useful and valuable solutions can be built on top of blockchains. And that's why I'm bullish on this industry, and we are building on something on in the same industry.
Okay. Now, when you because as you said, this has been going on for more than a few years.
Yes.
I've also kind of jumped on it about 2 years ago, uh, but not to the depths that you have. So I'm interested in knowing what motivated you to write that particular article, because there's a bunch of them. I mean, there are many, but
Yes.
yours in particular. I mean, and you know this because you've. I mean, I think it's been what, like 3 days ago, something like that, 3 or 4 days ago, and
It came out last Friday.
last Friday, almost a week ago, and
Yes.
then you're getting a lot of attention for it. um, um, and I'm interested in knowing what motivated you to write it, and did you see something that was missing in other how-to guides or kind of reference articles?
Got it. Okay, so I'll tell you, we software developers have this tendency to complicate everything. Uh, and what happened was there are about a dozen of good articles on the internet that explain how blockchain works and how Bitcoin works and how transactions work on a blockchain. But the problem is all of them assume that the reader understand these basic technical terms that most of the internet users do not. Hash functions, one-way encoding, cryptography, public-private key cryptography. These are some concepts which not a regular internet user understands. But software developers software developers, they understand. And the people who are learning about blockchain and about this new industry, this small population is about 1% of the whole world's population. And developers make a very minuscule part of this 1% population. So there's a huge number of people who want to understand how blockchain works, how this works. in a language that they understand. So I have more non-technical friends than technical ones. I've been bugged for weeks. Hey Mohit, please explain us this thing. Please explain us this thing. You have been doing this thing. What does this mean? How does it work? I kept explaining them. I kept giving them an hour-long explanations. But eventually, I felt there must be a ultimate guide that anyone can refer to, and anyone can, and I can send anyone. So basically, the purpose was I didn't want to spend 1 hour with every friend. I just wanted to spend 2 3 hours, write it down, and then simply send them to a particular link. That was the initial purpose. But then I started reaching out to various tech publications. Hey, I have written this sort of thing. Would you be interested in publication in publishing this thing? About 10, I reached out to 10 different publications, and all of them rejected. So and then eventually I published it on Medium on my profile. Then David of Hacker Noon reached out to me, and he requested the story, and then it just exploded. So it's about to touch 1,000 recommendations on Medium, and it has been picked by Factor Daily, the Next Web, the LinkedIn, Pulse, and it has been picked by almost everyone except TechCrunch.
Yeah, I was like, because I think I reached out to you like the day or the second day that you published it,
Yes.
and then I started noticing it because I follow. I'm in the tech industry myself, so I'm well aware of all these other publications that you're mentioning. So I started seeing it there, and then other people that I follow, I don't know if they follow you, but they sure as hell follow Next Web and all these other ones, Hacker Noon and stuff like that. So I started seeing it there, and I'm like, God damn, this is exploding. But see, I wasn't because I didn't know when I reached out to you. Like, I saw the dates, but I thought this is enough interesting for me to reach out to you and say, hey, do you want to jump on my podcast? Because I said, if I can help you push it, because I know it's an important topic, I'll do my part. But then I started seeing like a day later, and I'm like, God damn, this is exploding. So you're probably having a very interesting week so far.
Oh yes, yes. This has been my life's best week.
That's good, man. All right, so let's jump on the topic itself. What fundamentally does what fundamental problem does the blockchain solve?
Okay. So I'll give a quick background how we evolved. So we started forming tribes when we used to live in caves. We started forming tribes so that one could trust another guy in the same tribe. So the trust was such an important thing for survival then. The only solution that we came up with to form groups, to form communities and tribes. But there was one gap in that solution, which was you can trust anyone within your tribe, but it was very difficult to trust someone else in a different community. So eventually, these different third-party services started popping up, which provided trust as a service. Consider a bank. If I wanted to trust you, and you want to trust me, we both trust a common bank, and because we trust a common bank, we can just depend on the bank, and we can say, hey, send this money to George, or probably send money from George to me. And because we both trust the bank, we eventually implicitly both trust each other. So these corporations started popping up, but eventually what happened was they started to serve us. But eventually they have built the leverage of trust, and there's no bigger leverage than the leverage of trust. And now they control us. They control the society as a whole. And there's no problem with this. The problem lies where they are just a single entity. If the chaos has to be injected in the society, only one guy in an organization has to go corrupt. Only one. They are the ultimate source of truth. That's why they're the ultimate point of failures, potential point of failures. And this is the problem that blockchain solves. Blockchain says, hey, we are 10 guys. We want to have trust within each other. We do not know each other. We are strangers, but we want to have trust in each other. So let's build a protocol. Let's build a system that can provide some trust within ourselves, but without depending on a third-party middleman. So that is what blockchain provides. Blockchain provides a mechanism that helps strangers within a network, strangers within a group to trust each other.
Okay. Now, you mentioned about some flaws in the system, the blockchain itself. Uh,
Uh,
it,
yes.
it's not a perfect system like anything else. What are the flaws behind it?
Okay. So the blockchain is not a system that is impossible to fail, that cannot fail, but it's very improbable that it will fail. I think improbable would be a better word over here. I'll tell you how. So blockchain basically works on one assumption, which is majority of the crowd is honest. Or if I have to rephrase it, how do you decide what a crowd wants? Whatever the majority of the crowd wants that, the whole crowd wants that. That's the basic theory. Now, what if, just imagine in a crowd of 100 guys, 51 is the majority in that crowd. They say, we want to steal assets of rest 49. In theory, it looks like a nice thing. The whole crowd wants this thing. But in practice, do you really think those 49 guys also want to participate whatever these 51 guys are saying? So this is the problem with the blockchains. In blockchain, if more than 50% of the people can coop up together, the whole protocol falls flat. And so I'm just taking very extreme example of stealing anyone's money. In reality, it will not happen, because if 51% of the guys or majority of the blockchain steal someone else's money, the news will spread wide and far throughout the world, and the currency that they stole will fall in the value, and it will reach zero. So whatever they stole, whatever they had stolen, it will be worth nothing. So it is not worth stealing something. But if you control, but if you control 51% or more than 50% of the network in the blockchain, in any blockchain, you can start influencing the system. So you can think of like this. Internet is again a decentralized protocol. No one controls internet, no one owns internet, but there are a handful of corporations: Facebook, Google, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft. They influence internet. They are calling themselves the internet. So that is what the problem with the blockchain could be. There could be, it's very nascent stage, so it won't happen right now, but say 2 years down the lane, there will be 2 3 corporations that will be controlling majority of the portion on a blockchain. So they'll be influencing it so that it favors their other businesses, it favors them in some certain way. uh, uh, China, almost 85 to 90% of the people in the blockchain are Chinese,
Wow.
because yes, because the hardware is cheap over there and the electricity is subsidized. So it's compared to the rest of the world, it's very easy and it's very efficient to be part of a blockchain and spend electricity and spend money on expensive hardware. So that's why. So one day, Chinese network, people in the Chinese people in the network, they could start making some rules in the protocol that starts favoring China as a country, probably. And hypothetically speaking, there could be an implicit Cold War sort of thing between the cryptocurrencies and the US dollar, such that US dollar falls down in the value and the whole world starts accepting this different cryptocurrencies, say Bitcoin. And because Bitcoin is controlled by Chinese, so whole economy of the whole world is influenced by this one country. So these are problems with the blockchain, but it's very improbable. Something like, it's very difficult to carry out such an influencing thing. But yeah, that is one thing that we should be aware of.
Unbelievable. I did not know that about the Chinese.
Okay.
That's very interesting. So there is. So I think the one of the reasons the blockchain is a little bit known is because there's a cryptocurrency. The most well known about of them is Bitcoin.
Yes.
But that's not the only one. I've lost count as to how many are there, or how many you can create, because we can all create our own coins at this point. Uh,
Yes.
can you explain, what is the difference, number one, Bitcoin, but also, just kind of like touch upon with Ethereum is also, I think it's kind of like the second most well known, but there's
Yes.
differences between them. Can you explain, what is the differences between them?
Okay. Sure. So here's what I'll do. I'll first explain you what is the difference between Bitcoin and blockchain, because these two things are very, very different, and often people confuse them with each other.
Yeah.
So blockchain is the method on which you can uh, keep track of multiple things. So in a network, if someone says something, if someone commits something, blockchain is that method to write that commitment down so that it never can be tampered with. You cannot go back on your word. So blockchain is that's just this protocol. Bitcoin is one use case of this protocol, which is to transfer money. With Bitcoin, you say the commitments that I'm making is the commitments of the transactions. With Bitcoin, you say write this down on the blockchain that I am transferring $10 to George. Now everyone writes that down on the blockchain. So suppose there are 10 guys in the network. Everyone writes it down, and it's always there. It will never be changed. It will never leave over there. No, from that, the amount $10 from Mohit to George will always stay there forever. Say 2 years, 10 years, 10,000 years. So this was a blockchain, and this was a Bitcoin. Bitcoin is one use case of the blockchain, and just like Bitcoin, right now there are around 950 cryptocurrencies out there. So about 900 different blockchains running in the world. Ethereum is second. Ethereum is the another use case of blockchain, which says instead of writing financial transactions, people can commit computer code. So every blockchain that is out there, say I said 900 different blockchains, each of those blockchains have a specific format of writing a transaction. For example, in financial institution, Bitcoin, when I'm writing a transaction, there will be 2-3 fields: who sent money, who received money, what was the amount, and what was the date and time. There could be another blockchain which behaves as a home registry system. Who bought which home, at what address, what was the size of the home, and who was the seller of the home. So this becomes a different sort of registry, this different sort of ledger. Now Ethereum has made it a general purpose sort of ledger, which says there is no definite format. I have given you one programming language. You can build any sort of format using this programming language. The programming language is Turing complete, so basically you can do any sort of thing that you can do in any other programming language. So what happens is, on this blockchain, the computer code gets executed. Instead of transactions getting executed, the computer code. So this blockchain can replace your servers. If you are using AWS as your data center, Amazon Web Services. So theoretically, you can replace your AWS with the Ethereum blockchain. You can say, hey, I have these applications, and instead of I rent a server and then execute it over there, I'll run this application on the blockchain. So whenever a code needs to be executed, it will be sent to a particular node, a particular computer in the network. That particular computer will execute that code, will send the result back, and the code gets executed. So one code will be executed by almost on the every machine in the network, and that's how every machine keeps track of what code was executed on for which people.
So that makes Ethereum, I'm not going to say impossible to hack, but a grand challenge, because you are talking about code distributed and executed to different parties.
Yes. So code is distributed and executed by different parties, and that makes it secure, cost efficient, and also reliable. Even if 2 guys shut the computer down, or if there's a bomb blast in one country, you can be sure that there will be other nodes always present in the network, and your code will never go down. Your application will never go down.
And what are some interesting applications of Ethereum that have you heard about? You know?
Yes. So on Ethereum, I have come across a couple of applications. Number one is distributed data storage. So what happens is, there's a company called StoreJ. So what do they do is, suppose you have an iPhone and you have a 128 GB iPhone, but right now you are only consuming, say, 50 GB of the space. You can rent out, say, 10 GB of your space on your iPhone to this company, just like Airbnb. You can Airbnb for storage. You can just list out the portion of 10 GB on this particular website, on particular blockchain, and there are other guys, the other side of who wants to back up their documents on the cloud, who wants to back up their data on the cloud. So as soon as someone uploads something, storage divides that particular file into multiple chunks, and then it takes each of these chunks and distributes on multiple nodes, on multiple phones, whoever has rented this their storage space to this company. And for renting this thing, the phone owner gets paid. So it's good for them. They have just rented out their free storage. They can anytime claim it back whenever they require it. But until the time it's not used, you can just rent it out. The company, the individual users who want to use they have very solution. The current storage system are Dropbox, Google Drive, because they have to run these big huge data centers. They are costly to use. But Storage, because you are renting something, it makes it very easy because they don't have to maintain any data center. It makes it very easy to it allows them to provide the same sort of service very cheap. So storage is a very interesting thing that I have come through. Second is digital identity. Right now, every bank account, every online account has to be identified. You always create new accounts. If you go through a payment gateway, you authenticate yourself in a different manner. You have to remember 10 different passwords. So there is a different company called civic.com, which keeps individual's identity on a blockchain. So this blockchain, consider of this blockchain as collection of thousands and millions of individual identities. Each identity will have verified phone number, verified email address, verified photo, these sort of things. Now, any company in the world who wants to authenticate their users, they can simply access this blockchain, pay some money for this blockchain, and then get the data back. And whatever they paid this thing, they pay the commission to the end user whose identity they were mentioning. So it's beneficial for you to upload your identity on this blockchain, and it's beneficial to the other company who wants to verify your identity. So both the sides get compensated, incentivized, and the network goes on.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So what is driving this? What is driving the whole, cryptocurrency boom? Because now you hear, I have a friend who mines Bitcoin and Ethereum. So, I have these conversations with him. I don't do mining yet, but you hear it more often now. Where I've gotten invited to put money into different different pockets of people who are mining or who are part of some network that's mining money, mining
Yes.
cryptocurrencies, either Bitcoin, Ethereum, or there's a bunch of other ones. So what's driving this whole thing?
Okay, so a few years back, now blockchain was the same word for Bitcoin. Bitcoin was one use case, and we were not able to see beyond Bitcoin what blockchain could do. There were some smart people out there who were since then saying the protocol can be used for various other things. The protocol can be used for various other things. But it is only now that we have realized that there could be multiple use case, massive use case. Wherever we find ourselves depending on a third party's middleman for providing trust, we can actually replace that particular organization or corporation with an open source public blockchain. So this knowledge that not only financial currencies, but also anything for which we depend on a third party middleman right now can actually be removed and can be converted, distributed, and decentralized. So this knowledge is right now is fueling this boom. And also because Bitcoin is quite mature these days, a lot of regular users have started to know about it. That's why, just like any regular currency, it will keep going up, and because it is going up, it will the user will also get to know about other currencies, and other currencies will go up. So it's like a perpetual network effect where one currency is very popular, it introduces, so that currency introduces the user with other 10 different currencies. So then those 10 currencies introduce the user to other 10. So this is a network effect that keeps going on, and I think it will go for quite some time now.
Okay. So, let's get to the matter of thing here. Is why does the blockchain matter? Why should people care? Why do businesses care? Why do governments care? Because now you see, I think it was the World Economic Forum did a study that banks are starting to pick up on this stuff, either the blockchain or even the bitcoins or some other some other cryptocurrency itself. Why are we seeing this? Why do they care? Why should we care? Um,
Okay,
you
so
know,
who are we, the businesses or us, the users?
well, I mean, businesses, the governments, but also people.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if you saw this, that I believe it was in the U.S. that a preschool is now, parents in a preschool, like 40% of parents in a preschool are now paying with Bitcoin. I mean, you see that and you're like thinking, well, it's a preschool, they're probably our age. The parents are our age, so they're into this stuff. Because obviously in other schools with, parents who are much older, I mean, it's, you would rarely see this type of thing.
See, it's very simple. It's the market dynamics. The people, us, the end users who are affected by these things, eventually they have started preferring Bitcoin, blockchains. Eventually we have started preferring decentralized mechanism. Eventually we have started preferring a distributed system as compared to a single middleman. Now, if these banks or these corporations, these businesses or governments do not pick up on this trend, they'll they'll just go away. No one will know them a decade later. They'll just vanish from the face of this industry. They'll just vanish away. If bank, they stay adamant on what they are doing right now, and they say this is our track, this is our strategy, we were doing this thing, they'll just lose out on the race because the whole world is riding on different wave. I think it's the same thing that happened with the camera company called Kodak. They were best in class in their times, and they were competing with other camera companies. But what they missed out on was the smartphone wave.
Yeah.
They said smartphones are not our competition. But eventually what happened was smartphone became our everyday device to do everything, even clicking photos, and it clicks photos better than the normal cameras. Now, where's the Kodak? It's nowhere on this on the face of this earth. So that's what happens if you do not evolve yourself, if you do not create that thing that will beat you yourself. So if banks do not start working on a distributed system on blockchain protocol, eventually they lose out to someone who will be doing this thing. So it makes more sense to accept that this is a trend, to accept that this is where the people's choice is, to accept that this is where the humanity is going towards, and then do whatever feels right. If you'll just stay how you were before, you'll lose out. That is the main reason why big companies, the tech mammoths, fail, because they do not evolve themselves too fast.
Okay, now let's take that example about the banks. Just noodle on that. What is how does a bank's business model change with the blockchain? How do they put it to use? I mean, how does that even look like?
Okay, so banks' business model will be just like they'll be running their own blockchain. So instead of bitcoins, they'll introduce their own cryptocurrency, and because they already have a network of their customers, they already have a network of various partnerships. It will not be very difficult to seed the initial efforts to get the blockchain up and running, to get the network effects going on. So these banks will either launch their own public blockchain or private blockchain that anyone can be part of, and anyone can mine the cryptocurrencies that they have, and anyone can. So the users of banks can choose if they want to. Eventually, it will happen. So initially, it will happen is what will happen is the if you go to bank account, they'll or give you a choice. Do you want a centralized solution? Do you want a decentralized solution? You can pick, but eventually, when the weight over the decentralized side will be very heavy, they'll eventually switch to just this decentralized one. So they'll start their own blockchain. They'll give out their own cryptocurrency. So that's the normal thing that how banks will do.
And what is when you say, because it sounds funny, when you say they'll start their own blockchain, when you said that they'll start their own blockchain, what is that? They start programming their own blockchain on their own servers? Is that something that they do on the cloud, either via Amazon EC2, something like that? How does that?
No. Blockchains by design work in a distributed fashion. So when I say that they'll start their own blockchain, they'll open source a protocol that you can join, I can join, that your friends can join, just like a Bitcoin blockchain, and you can start mining. Sorry. So you can just start mining these new cryptocurrencies that the banks have has released. It's very same again, open source, public, distributed, no one server, no EC2. There's one thing, which is the bank is the final authority to influence the blockchain. So banks can go ahead and say I feel we should change the protocol in such a manner to do this, to probably increase the efficiency of the whole protocol, to probably make it more secure. So they can take the decision how to maintain the protocol, but eventually we will be running the protocol as by becoming nodes on our own systems. So it will be again an open source public distributed system, but the rules, the basic rules, the fundamental public open source rules will be decided by the banks.
Hmm. Now, is there a obstacles, like if I'm a bank director, bank owner, whatever? Are there obstacles to adopting the blockchain that I should be thinking about?
No, no, no. So the only barrier to entry right now is you have to be a developer. Like you have to understand how the code works,
Technology.
yes, how you can make it secure, because all of the fundamentals are based on cryptography. How do you encode stuff? How do you decode stuff? How do you transfer one data to another, one data from one computer to another computer securely, so that no one in the middle can change it, can snoop on it, can do anything. So these are the few things that anyone can take care of and start their own blockchain. So even if you want, you can start your own blockchain, say tomorrow. The only thing is only you and me will be on that blockchain, so it won't matter much. The blockchains work successfully if multiple people start joining it. And why do multiple people start joining it? When they see some value. We want to join this blockchain because when we'll join this blockchain, we'll start mining this particular currency that we can use in a particular use cases. So Bitcoin right now is accepted by various people. Like you said, some people are paying their child's fees in bitcoins. So this adoption on the supply on the demand side raise the value of a cryptocurrency. So if banks can come out with a story, hey, if you join this network, you'll be awarded with this cryptocurrency, say ABC, and you can use this ABC to pay for your loans, to pay for to get some education loan, additional education loan on top of whatever you are getting. So these could be various interesting things which will make someone adopt this thing. Hey, I can spend some electricity, I'll mine something, and then I'll get free education, sort of free education.
Wow,
So it requires this storytelling.
very good. All right, so now we've been kind of going through the banking scenario, but there's many more. You particularly wrote up something earlier today, or published it earlier today, of
Yes.
how to use the blockchain for energy use between a town. I presented something like this last year myself. I think it was done in some European town. I saw it. It's already operational. I don't know if you saw that, but I think it's different, a little different than what you were proposing in your blog post. So, I mean, what are some other use cases of the blockchain? Let's talk about the energy one that you proposed, and then maybe another few that you know of that are way out. People would never expect this.
Okay, so let's start with the energy one. So I one day I was sitting and I was thinking, hey, blockchain is just one of the three trends that we are going through. The other two trends are um, number one, clean energy. Everyone is rooting for the earth is getting warm. We used to stop using we have to stop using fossil fuels, and we have to adopt clean energy. So this is the second trend that everyone is rooting for. And the third very subtle but very massive trend is giving up on ownership and adopting the accessibility. So with Uber, you do not own the Uber car, but you get Uber car whenever you want. So the idea is, let me listen to the song whenever I want to, whichever I want to, wherever I want to, and I will never worry about if I own the song or not, because I have the access to this song whenever I want to. I do not care if I own this song or not. I just want to listen. So so these three shifts, which is giving up on ownership and adopting accessibility, number two, clean energy, and number three, getting the trust disrupted in the centralized corporations and adoption of blockchains. These three things, I was thinking, what if these three things can come together? Can these three things can create a massive impact? So that's why. I came up with this idea, which is, suppose in a town, every town has some homes which receive ample sunlight, which do not receive, and the others have which do not receive the sunlight at all. Like they receive sunlight but not optimum for a day's usage. So what can happen is, say suppose in a town, if there are 10 homes, if 3 of them receive ample sunlight, those 3 can install this solar panels on solar panels in the batteries in their homes. And the interesting thing is, the wires from that solar panel will go not only to their homes but to every home in the town. So so all the 10 guys get the access to those solar panels. Now, the, the second thing comes in. These other 7 homes, they do not own the solar panels, but they must have an access to this thing. So how do they get the access? They get the access using a public blockchain. So they transact. So the producers, the producing homes, the sunlight producers, solar energy producers, they produce some energy. They have access of it. Just it's and this excess energy is just like excess storage on our phones. It will dissipate into the thin air if you do not use it. So instead, because they've already produced this energy, they can start trading it on blockchain. So they can say, hey, I'm listing out this ample energy that I produced for this much amount, and the other 7 guys can pay the money, pay the cryptocurrency, a new cryptocurrency, and and the whole system will route that excess energy from the producer's home to the consumer's home. So everyone in the town gets up on the clean energy system using what I call local energy grid. So the overall, because the producers were paid, so overall cost of adopting clean energy for them goes down. And because the consumers didn't have to install the solar panels and the batteries, so adoption of clean energy goes down for them. So overall, in a town, the whole town gets up on the clean energy in a drastically cheaper price.
Okay, awesome.
So,
That's
so,
that's a good one. I mean, like I was saying, these are things people would never expect the blockchain could be
yes.
used for. What's another one? Like, because there's various applications for this type of technology. Where else can we see this applied?
Where else? Let me think. Okay, I know a good one, and this one is the biggest companies of today's era. The internet companies, Facebook, Google, are built on online advertisement, and the online advertisement is very opaque industry. Like, if suppose you are a publisher and you want to show some advertisement on your blog post, so you will just sign up with a ad network. Now, how in the background it works is, that ad network detects a particular user, then it queries, then it pays a corporation called data management platforms, the DMPs. They say, please give me data of this user. So that DMP provides the data of this user based on cookies. Then the ad network calculates what this ad network should bid to show up this particular advertisement to this user. So that data, even if that user comes 10 times in the day, the advertiser will have to pay 10 times to get the same data from DMP, because there is no unified method. There is no unified way to identify users across the websites. This whole ad network industry is very fragmented. So advertisers will have to double spend, triple spend, to spend 4 times to show the same advertisement to the same user 4 times. On the publisher side, the data, how now the question is, how do the data management platforms get the data? They steal it from the publishers, and publishers are never compensated for it. So if you install a third party tracking software of anything, say recommendations, whenever someone reads my post, show them these 3 posts too. That small snippet is also stealing your users data and selling it to advertisers 3 times 4 times, but you will never be compensated. You will be compensated only when an ad is shown, someone clicks on it, and then you will get 60% of the ad revenue, which is, the publishers are losing out on this thing, and advertisers are paying double. And
Yeah.
the users who are seeing ads, they just see random ads following them. So advertisement has 3 main characters, which are publishers, advertisers, and the users, and all of these 3 are not incentivized in any way. Who is getting profited is the other background corporations who manage this data and sell this data. So a blockchain can do this thing. There could be a blockchain where there's a standard system where one user can be identified across the websites, and so that advertisers do not have to pay multiple times to get the same data. and the publishers also get incentivized if their data is used. So the publisher and user and the publisher and advertisers are happy. Now, in recent years, we have seen ad blockers coming in. Ad blockers cut the revenue that these publishers get. So this particular blockchain can enable an opt-in system where if the user want to see an ad, they'll see very relevant ads because of based on this transparent blockchain. And also because they're just seeing the ad, they'll also be provided with a cryptocurrency token that they can that they can use, collect, or redeem anywhere wherever these are accepted. So there is a browser called Brave browser. So Brave browser has recently done an ICO to raise some $33 million. And do you want to guess in how much time did they raise $33 million?
Yeah, I heard that this happened like within a day or something.
It 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 happened within 24 seconds.
24 seconds.
So, because this is such a massive problem and the whole internet is struggling with this thing, they came up with a solution. They said, we'll build a browser which will track every user on every website and will provide their data through a blockchain that any advertiser can query, pay a one-time fee, and get the user's data. The publishers will get incentivized to promote their browsers, and the users who will use this browser and see the ads, they'll also get incentivized. So overall, the adoption of browser will go up, and also the ad industry will be better in a better state.
Okay. Now, so Brave is the only example so far there is that's trying to come at this from one side, but is there somebody in the from the media side, the ad network side, doing this that experimenting with the blockchain or already implementing it?
I knew a company. Say about a month back, I was in touch with them, and they were also doing something. So they were trying to build an ad network on top of blockchain, just like Brave browser. But instead of building a browser, they were just their plan was just to collect the data and make it available through a blockchain. But I don't know what happened. I've been trying to contact them. They have gone completely silent. I like their thing. Their website is not working anymore. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And that is one of the one of the ugly things of this industry at this stage, because everyone is rooting for this new blockchain and everyone has this fear of missing out. So there are some people who are just building up their stories without any substantial things, and they are just they are just raising a lot of money and then going silent, totally blacked out. So there are certain areas, certain segments in this industry which are using this opportunity to run some scams. But yeah,
unbelievable, man. And is you're based in India.
Yes.
Is this something that's actively going on in India and like in the startup scene, the investment scene?
So in India, I would say activity is going on, but on more on the side of learning. So there are investors who are talking to the blockchain enthusiasts like ourselves. They are trying to understand this space. They are not actively investing the money. They are not actively participating in the ICOs, the sophisticated investors. But they see India is a country which catches up afterwards. So whenever your country will be done with this thing, we'll start adopting this thing. So it usually happens like this. So it usually happens like this. And I think that's how our culture is. I'm not too sure. But right now we have started learning about this space. The Indian investors and the businesses have started learning about this space, but that's the extent that there's activity over here in India.
Okay. So, and you are one of the guys who is leading the parade, I guess.
Sorry.
You are one of the people who is leading the parade.
Hopefully, so I think we are one of few who are actively doing something on the cryptocurrency space.
Okay. All right. Well, Mohit, it was very, very great talking to you. I'm gonna let you go. Just for my followers, for my listeners, where can they find you? I believe I missed out on in your introduction. I didn't mention that you write in a newsletter with ideas from the future. If you can also plug that in, please do so.
Okay. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm very active on Twitter. So twitter.com/Mohit Mamoria, MOHIT MAMORIA. And I also run a weekly newsletter called Unmade, which delivers one idea from the future, just like clean energy on blockchains, to your inboxes every week, every Tuesday. And you can find this newsletter on Unmade, unmade.email. That's the two hobbies that I have. On the serious side, we are working on a software that allows anyone like you, your father, your mom, to be part of the various blockchains smartly. So all they have to do is download the software, hit the button start, and that software figures out in which cryptocurrency to mine, so that at the end of the day, what you make enough profit as compared to whatever electricity you spend. So if you spend $100 of electricity, at least you must have made $150 of the profit in the of the cryptocurrency value. So we are working on this software. Will soon come out in public. So that's it.
Okay. Hey, let me know when it comes out. I'll we'll chat again about that. That's awesome idea.
Yes,
Well,
I think that will be a great way to get you to the mining.
oh yeah, somebody's gonna get me in there. I know for sure. I know for sure. My buddy's been bugging me. I'm like, well, if you're doing it already, why should I? I'll just give you some money, but you know how it is.
Yes.
All right, so Mohit, thank you so much, and I'll let you know when I publish this, probably tomorrow.
Sure.
Very like tomorrow, and again, thank you so much for sharing your ideas with me, and have a good one, and keep much success to yourself.
Thank you so much, George. I loved being over here.
All right, thank you so much, man.
Bye bye.